Only 4 members are there. Nobody is joined. Okay. So let us come to here. We are going to study today rigid and fluid. Rigid and fluid. So let us come to here. So before we'll go the definitions of these solids, liquids, and gases, we should know the meaning of these two terms. Understand what is solid, define liquid, define gas. Understand? In last class I have taught you chalk piece, ice cube, and iron nail. So if you hit with a hammer, iron nail it is very difficult, and chalk piece and ice cube we can break it easily. So, but three are called as solids only. So like that, if we take any kind of water or oil and all, we used to call them liquids. Next, if we take carbon dioxide, oxygen and all, we used to call it as gases. But what is the definition of when we can say gas, when we can say solid, when we can say liquid and all? So we should study that. But before that, we should know the meaning of these two terms. That is only called as rigid bodies as well as fluid bodies. Understand? So if you know the meaning of this, then we can easily make a definitions for what is solid, what is liquid, and what is gases. So let us come to here. What is the meaning of rigid? Understand? Rigid. All of you remember. What is the meaning of rigid body means? Suppose, let me take this marker. Can you able to see this marker? Can you able to see this marker? Pradosh?
Yes, sir.
Now, is it possible? Is it flexible or unflexible? Is it flexible or unflexible?
Unflexible.
Inflexible. Sorry, unflexible, not inflexible. Is it bending or not bending? Manya, is it bending or not bending? Tell me. Bending or not bending?
Not bending, sir.
Not bending. So that is the meaning of rigid bodies. So what is the meaning of rigid means? Understand, the bodies which are very strong, not bending. Understanding means in the sense of unbending. Understanding, the bodies which are not bending, or we can call it as unbending bodies, is only called as rigid. That is the meaning of rigid. Rigid means unbending, or we can call it as inflexible. What we should call? Inflexible means which is not flexible in nature, is only called as rigid bodies. Suppose if we take any kind of stone, understand, basically stone if we take, is it possible to bend the stone, or else is it the stone is flexible? Is it the stone is flexible? If we take stone is a very hard substance which is, understanding, not possible to bend or not possible to, understanding, stretch or doing any kind of activity. It is the unbending one. So that is why I can say example of stone. What is the example of unbending rigid bodies? Stone. Stone is an example of rigid because it is unbending or inflexible. That is the meaning of rigid. Suppose if we take, what is the meaning of fluid? That is what I want to know. What is the meaning of fluid? Fluid. Fluid means it may be a liquid or maybe a gas, doesn't matter. So what is the meaning of fluid means? Remember, any material, if you take whatever the material I have given, if it is having this property, then that is called as fluid. So what is that property means? Remember, a material which can flow easily, that is what? Which can flow easily, understanding, and acquires, suppose I will pour the water in. Let me take one example, 1 minute. Can you able to see these bottles, 2 bottles? How many? Can you able to see these 2 bottles? Please tell me. Can you able to see these 2 bottles? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
No. If I pour the water in this bottle, so the water will acquire this shape. Is it yes or no? If I pour the water in this bottle, the water will acquire this shape of this bottle.
Yes,
Yes or no? Now, if the same water, if I pour in this bottle, is it will acquire the same shape, this shape or that shape? It acquires this shape of the bottle. Is it yes or no? Like that. If I'll observe another, if I'll pour the same water in another container, it will acquire that shape of the water, that shape of the vessel. Is it yes or no, Pradosh? Yes,
Yes, sir.
that kind of
Yes,
substance.
sir.
So, which will acquire, say, vessel, understanding, to keep it. Which will acquires, understanding, acquires a shape of a vessel, and as well as if you want to store the water, suppose you want to keep the stone, is it required any kind of bowl? If you want to keep the stone, is it required any bowl? Yes.
Yes. No,
If
sir.
you want to keep the stone, is it required any bowl, or normally also you can
No, sir. No, sir.
keep normally also? But if you
Yes,
want
sir.
to keep the water, what will happen, Manya? If you want to keep the water,
We need
always we requires what? We requires
container.
we requires a container, but container is only which to called as vessel. So that kind of substance, which is, understand, which is always acquires a shape of a vessel and also is required container or else vessel to store it, that is only called as fluid. So fluid means, you remember, which can flow, that is the first thing, which can flow, and it is requires a vessel or container to keep it. So that is the example. If we take water, understanding, the best example is if we take water. So water I cannot pour, I cannot store it on the table. Is it yes or no? Water is a fluid because if you pour on the top of the table, it flows over the surface of the table. Is it yes or no? If I pour, suppose here, one drop of water,
Sir.
will start flowing towards the downward direction. Yes or no? Like that, wherever we pour the water, it will start moving on the surface of that because it is a fluid. Understand? So that is why water requires always a container, a water bottle or a water packet or water bowl or something should be required. A vessel should be required to keep it. So that is why you can see, suppose not only water, milk if you take, understanding, everything. Suppose gases you will take. Your gas cylinder is kept outside or inside the cylinder? Your gas cylinder in your home kept outside or inside the cylinder? And our gas, why we are keeping inside the cylinder? Because our
Inside the cylinder.
gas is a fluid which cannot stay outside. So if we keep it outside, it will start moving away from us. That is why always that gas is stored inside the container. Is it yes or no? Closed container. Yes. So that is the meaning of fluid. So the fluid means a material which can flow easily and they required a vessel to keep it. So that kind of substance is called as fluid. Understand? So that is the meaning of fluid. The best example is understanding water as well as understanding the milk and any kind of LPG gas, chlorine gas and all. So that is that. All of you write it. Write these 2 points. Later on we can. Now, rigid. Rigid means unbending or inflexible. Unbending or inflexible. Example, you can write stone. Example, you can write stone. Understand, Ra? Next, fluid, which can flow easily. Which can flow easily. Which can flow easily and requires a vessel. And requires a vessel, understand, to keep it. To keep it. Example. So example, you can take milk, water, LPG gas, etc. So this is, please all of you write. Completed? Pradosh? Yes? Now, so this is the meaning of rigid. The meaning of rigid means understanding which is not possible to break or else which is not possible to bend. And what is the meaning of fluid means which can flow. If you pour on surface, it will start moving. So that substance is called as fluid. Now, we have 3 states of matter. What is that? Can you able to say anybody? Manya, Samaya, Alana, Pradosh, Darun, anybody? What is the three states of matter. Last class I also have taught you. We have three
Solid,
different states
liquid,
of matter.
gas.
What is that? Please speak. What is that?
Solid state, liquid
Solid
state, and gaseous state.
liquid state, liquids and
Liquid,
gases. So these are the three states of
gaseous.
matter which we are familiar. Understand? So higher classes, if we'll go, we used to get next fourth state of matter, fifth state of matter, sixth state of matter also. But basically in the normal earth matter is always exist in the three states of matter. One is solid, one is liquid, and one is gas. Now, let us come to remember the definitions, all of you. Rigid body. Rigid means what? Which is not possible to bend and which is not possible to flexible. Understanding? Inflexible and unbending substance is only called as rigid. Now, if we'll take any kind of example, we have studied that solid stone. So stone is an example of solid or liquid or gas. Please tell me. Stone is a solid or liquid or gas?
Solid.
Stone is a solid. So means in a sense of solids are rigid in nature or not? Solids are rigid in nature or not? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So solids, understand? So solids are a rigid form of matter. All of you should remember. So solid, what is the meaning of solid means? A solid is a rigid, understand? Rigid form of matter. What is the solid? Rigid form of matter. So, now, let us take, understand. So due to this rigidity, what is that means? Let us take for example. I have given one cube. Cube, how many of you know cube? Do you people know very well? You will place with the cube. Or else correct? For example, let us take. Now my phone only. Can you able to see my phone? All of you? Yes? Now.
Yes, sir.
I will give this phone to Pradosh. I will ask him to keep it in his home. Next day Manya, next day Alana, next day Darun, next day okay, Samaya, both are the same. Now, is it the shape is same or else it is again changing everywhere? I will keep it here today, tomorrow, next day. Is it the shape is same or changing every day?
Same, sir.
Same means in the sense of what? In the solids, the structure remains, understand? I can keep it in my pocket. I can keep it in my pocket. Is it the shape is changing?
No, sir.
I can keep it inside my bag. Is it the shape is changing?
No, sir.
No. So like that is the called as understanding rigidity. So that is called as, so a solids have a rigid form of matter. Solids are or else a solid is a rigid form of matter. Due to this rigidity, the property is called as rigidity. Understand? Due to the property called as rigidity, solids have a tendency to maintain their shape when they are subjected to outside force. Means if somebody is pulling outside also or pushing also, the shape does not change. That is only called as, understand, solids. So they will maintain their shape even though the outside force is acting on it. That kind of body is called as rigid bodies. So the main identifying characteristics of solids, whenever I will say solids. So what is the first characteristic you should remember? Solid is a what? Solid is a what? Solid is a rigid body. Solid is a rigid body and they have a property called as rigidity, means the sense of they will remain to maintain the same shape even when they are exposed to the outside. You understand, Pradosh?
Yes, sir.
All of you, Manya, Darun. So that is the meaning of rigid and the property is called as rigidity. So solids do not acquire or else they do not acquire any shape of container. So they do not require a container to keep them. Not required vessel or container. Vessel or container to keep them. Is it yes or no? True or not? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Now, if we'll take suppose a brick and wood, they are the two common solids, suppose if we'll take. Now, so is it required? Do you want any kind of bowl to keep the brick and wood? You can keep it outside also, they will be present like that. Is it yes or no? If you keep the brick here or there or there or there, everywhere, It's not required any vessel. Even outside you will throw also, that the brick will be like brick only. Is it yes or no? Always it will be in rectangle shape. Is it the shape is changing? It will be like a cube. Yes or no? Cuboid, not cube. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that kind of body is called as rigid bodies, and the property of the rigid bodies is called as what? Rigidity. What we should call?
Rigidity.
So now let us come to a liquid. Second state of matter is called as a liquid. So if we take the liquid, understand? If we take the liquid, then liquid is a fluid. Understanding? It is one of the form of fluid. Both liquids and gases are called as fluids only. So a liquid is a fluid, forms of matter which occupies the lower part of the container in which it is kept. In which it is kept. Means if I will pour the water in a bottle, it will acquire the shape of the bottle. If I will pour the water in another kind of vessel, it will acquire the shape of the vessel. Like that. A liquid does not, understand, does not having any kind of fixed shape. Always the shape of the liquid is continuously changing depend upon the shape of the container. Is it yes or no, Ra? Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that is why a liquid has a, understanding, a liquid does not having any kind of container, any kind of shape. So the always shape is changing depend upon the container, and we cannot store them. Understanding? We cannot keep it in outside also. So that always they requires a vessel to store them. So that is why we have to store the liquid. We have to store the liquid in container. In container or vessel. So example, best liquid is, understand, best liquid is water. What is the best liquid? Water. Water is the known liquid for us. Always we have to keep it in some kind of container. So if not, what will happen? What will happen? That they will start flowing. Understand? Now you tell me. Suppose I'm having a water bottle. I'm having a water bottle. Let me imagine. Now, if I will open the water bottle, is it the water is evaporating? It means, is it water is escaping or they are storing inside the water bottle? If I will pour the water, then they will store inside or they will escape. Even though I have opened this, then also the water will be inside. Is it yes or no? If I will pour it, they will start flowing. Yes? Speak, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, so even though I can keep in open container
sir.
also, open container which is not closed completely, then also the liquids will be staying. Understand? But if we take the gases you can see. Gases also, they are the examples of fluid. But if a cylinder, if you open the knob, then gas cylinder will open. Is it the gas will stay inside or it will escape outside?
Outside, sir.
Outside means in the sense of gases always must store in closed containers or open containers. Gases always must store in closed containers.
Closed containers.
Understand? So if we keep it in open containers, they will escape into the atmosphere. Understand? So that is the fluids. The fluids which does not have any shape, particular shape, always they require, understanding, vessel to store them. And in the fluids also, understanding, fluids also, a liquid can even, we can keep it in open container. But gases, if we keep in open container, what will happen, Ra? They will escape into the atmosphere. Is it yes or no? No, that is. So that is why always gases should store in closed containers and liquids can store even in open containers. But solids, is it required any containers? Solids, is it required any containers? No. So that is why, understand? So the rigid, the body, the solids which are rigid in nature, the property is called as rigidity. The same way, the liquids and gases both are called as, we have a name called as, what is that? Fluids. What we should call? What we should call? Fluids. And the flowing property, the motion property of this fluid is only called as fluidity. What we should call? Fluidity. Understanding? The flowing easily, they can flow easily. So the property, the tendency of flowing is only called as, understanding, flow is only called as fluidity. Do you understand, Amma? Yes or no?
Sir.
Now, I will show you some picture to better understanding it. Somebody is having doubt. Anybody is having doubt?
No doubt, sir.
Now, let us see. I will show you the three pictures. You can say, you can observe, you can understand the difference between the solids and the liquids and as well as gases. Now, let us go for the picture. Now, all of you observe here. Can you able to see the picture A, picture B, and picture C? Just wait, it will come. Can you able to see now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wait. So now, first one you observe. First one you observe here, particles are very closely packed and it is having a cube shape. So means in the sense of it is a what? What is the substance? Called as?
Solid.
Solid. So that is why, is it required any container to store this? You can keep normally also, it will be present. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that is why this is called as a rigid body. What we should call? What we should call?
Rigid body.
Rigid body. And the property, if you keep the this cube here or here, you can keep, here you can keep, here you can keep. Everywhere, what is the shape of that? Is it the shape is changing? Shape is does not change. No. So means in the sense of what I can call, they are the property called as what? Maintaining its state, even though solid state rigid, the property is called as what?
Rigidity.
Understanding. What we should call? Rigidity.
Rigidity.
Understanding. Next, suppose you can take, suppose liquids you see. Compared to the solids, liquids are little bit far each other, and if you pour on this wood, what will happen on the tabletop? They will start coming outside. Is it yes or no? They will start flowing on the surface. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So that, but you can keep it in this beaker. Understanding? Like this, you can keep the beaker. This water will store even 10 days also. Yes or no? Like this, you can keep. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Now, same like this beaker, if you fill the carbon dioxide gas or any kind of gas, what will happen? This gas will going outside. Is it yes or no? Are you observed the particles are going outside? And distance between them, have you noticed it? The distance between the particles is more or less. The distance between the particles is more or less in gases.
More, sir.
More. That is why they can easily go outside. They can easily go outside. They can escape. So that only always for these gases, if you want to store the gases, we want required what? A closed container. What we should call? Closed container or closed vessel. So both they can flow. All the liquids and gases they can flow. That is why these are called as, both we can call as what? Fluids. What we should call?
Fluids.
Fluids. And the property of flow, what we should call that property? What we should call? Fluidity. What we should call?
Fluidity.
Fluidity. All of you write it. Fluidity. Try to draw this diagram. 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Note down all of you.
Drawn, sir.
Sir, what is this, sir?
Completed? Okay, Manya. Just let them draw. Okay, that is all about the differences between solids, liquids, and gases. Now, write all of you. Solids. A solid is a rigid form of matter. A A solid is a rigid form of matter. A solid is a rigid form of matter. Note it down. Solid is a rigid form of matter. Due to their rigidity, due to their rigidity, due to their rigidity, due to their rigidity, comma, solids have a, due to their rigidity, comma, solids have a, due to their rigidity, comma, solids have a tendency to maintain their shape, maintain their shape when subjected to outside force. When subjected to outside force. So that property is only called as what, Ra? That property is called as what? Rigidity. Understanding? That is what you should remember. Next, liquids. Liquid.
Maintain here, what, sir?
What, Ra?
Sir, last mention.
Tendency to maintain their shape when subjected to outside force. When subjected to outside force. Understand? Subjected to
Yes,
outside
sir.
force. Next, liquid. Liquid. A liquid is a fluid. A liquid is a fluid which can flow. A liquid is a fuel which can flow. A liquid is a fluid which can flow easily. When you will place it on surface. When you place it on any surface. When you place it on any surface. When you place it on any surface. Next, they always required container or vessel to store them. They always required container or vessel to store them. They always require container or vessel to store them. Bracket you can write open container, no problem. Open container or closed container, doesn't matter. Anything you can write it. No issues. I will wait. They required container to store them. That's all. Example, water. Next, gas. Next, you write gas. All of you write gas. Gas. What is a gas, Ra? What is a gas? What is a gas? I said.
Fluid, sir.
Which is a fluid, but it must be stored in where? It must be stored in where?
Container.
A container.
Closed container, not
container.
open container. That is what you should remember. It is always must be stored in closed container, right? A gas is a fluid. A gas is a fluid form of matter. A gas is a fluid form of matter. A gas is a fluid form of matter which fills the whole container. Which fills the whole container in which it is kept. In which it is kept. In which it is kept. A gas is a fluid form of matter. A gas is a fluid form of matter which fills the whole container. Which fills the whole container in which it is kept. In which it is kept. They always required a closed container. They always required a closed container to store them. They always required a closed containers to store them. To store them. Example. What is the example of gases? LPG. Understanding? Our cylinder. LPG cylinder is best one. Understand? So LPG cylinder, liquefied petroleum gas. Also we can call it as cooking gas. What we should call? Cooking gas. Understand? LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. Example. Understand, Amma? Yes or no? That's all. Now final statement you write. So both liquids and solids, liquids and gases, both we can call it as what? Fluids. Because both are fluid. Understand? So both liquids and gases are known as liquids and gases are known as fluids. Known as fluids. Understand? So the property of flowing easily, what we should call? The property of flow. What we should call, Darun? The property of flowing. Alana. Fluidity.
Fluidity, sir.
The property of flow. The property of flow is known as fluidity. All of you note it down. Rigidity and fluidity. Any doubt? You can ask. Yes. So this is all about what is solids, what is liquids, what is gases, as well as rigid bodies and fluid bodies. Now, shall we go for classification of matter? Means if we take our matter in our surroundings, please can anybody say what is the examples of matter? Anybody which you are seeing in our surroundings? Please tell me. All the things, whatever you are observing in our surroundings, you tell me. Yeah, we can make it. Manya, that is only we are going to study now. You tell me the surroundings, what you are observing in our nature. Air we cannot able to see, but air is a mixture of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and oxygen. Suppose you take in our home, we have my home, you see this board I have. Understand? I have a marker, as well as I am having a drinking water, and as well as I am breathing oxygen. So like this in our surroundings, so many matter is present. So now this matter we have to classify it. Understanding? We have to do the classification of this all the matters based upon the properties which we have studied, like which they are solids, either they are the liquids or they are the gases. So now let us see. We have to study that. Now all of you keep heading. So the next what we are going to study means classification of matter. All of you write. Classification of matter. Classification of matter. Classification of matter as solids. Classification of matter. Classification of matter. So how many states are? Matter can be classified into how many categories? Matter as speak, solids, liquids, and
Gases.
gases. So these are the three classifications. So depend upon what? Depend upon the rigidity and fluidity. And fluidity, open container or closed container. Now, let us go for understanding. First one. So on the basis of physical state, understanding, they are having a fixed shape or does not have any fixed shape, like that, depend upon the physical states. Remember, I have already taught you in beginning. Based upon the physical state, matter can be classified into three categories. What is that? Physical state, chemical state, atoms, elements, molecules, and compounds and mixtures. Means in the sense of elements, compounds and mixtures are the based upon chemical properties. Now based upon the physical properties, based upon the physical states, matter is classifying into three types. What is that? Solunga. Physical state. How appears?
Solid,
Constant
liquid,
state.
gas.
Understanding. What is that? Based upon the physical state, matter is classified
Solid, liquid, gas.
solids, liquids,
Liquids.
and
Gas. Gaseous.
gases. So now, let us go for it. For example, if I take in our home, how many of you are having sugar in our home? Sugar. Sugar, you have sugar?
Yes, sir.
Do you have sand?
Sir.
Do you have iron nail?
Sir.
Do you have
Yes,
iron?
sir.
Sir.
Do you have wood?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Do you have rocks?
Yes, sir.
So, these all are what? Everything is under what? Solids. What we should call? Solids. Now,
Solid.
go to liquids. Do you have water in our home?
Yes,
Do you have
sir.
water? Your car is having diesel. Your car is having diesel. Your bike is having
Yes, sir.
petrol. Your
Yes, sir.
mother is having cooking oil. Your mother is
Yes,
having
sir.
cooking oil. If somebody is there in your home, those who can drink alcohol. So alcohol is present. So alcohol, these all are what? Liquids. Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes,
Then
sir.
next, gases. Let us come to the gases. Your mother is having which gas? LPG, liquid petroleum gas in kitchen. Understanding? Gas. Next, we are breathing oxygen. Understanding? Oxygen gas. We are releasing carbon dioxide gas. We have hydrogen gas. So these all are what? Suppose if I'll boil the water, steam will produce. Steam or vapor. So while you are cooking, if you remove the plate, we used to get like a smoke, it is going up. Have you observed that? Have you observed or
Yes,
not?
sir.
So that is called as what?
Yes, sir.
Gases. So these are the examples of, we can write so many examples. Suppose you can take your fridge containing ice cubes. Do you have ice cubes? Do you have
Yes,
ice
sir.
cubes in your fridge?
Yes, sir.
So ice cubes also exist called as what is that? Solid solid. But they are the weak solid. Understand? So this is called as classification of matter based on physical state. Based on physical state is three types. That is solids, liquids, and gases. That is why these are called as three states of matter. What we should call?
Three states of water.
Three states of matter. Three states means Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Tamil Nadu. Is it correct?
No,
Three
sir.
states are- What is that? They are the three states.
Solid, liquid, gas.
Is solids, liquids, and gases. All of you write it. All of you write it. Till here you write it, all of you. Any doubt means you ask me. So now, this is enough for today. Then we are going to study from tomorrow. We are going to study the properties of solids, the properties of liquids, the properties of gases. Based on the physical properties, understanding, we should know how they are having. Is they are having a fixed shape? Is they are having a fixed volume? And is everything is varying or not? Like that, everything we should study. What is the density? More density, less density? Either they can flow or not. Everything